am from South Africa, in Mpumalanga to be exact. Well, me, I am a musician, but I'm more known or better known as a TikToker. I am a South African TikToker with 1.4 million followers. And yeah, I love bringing a new element to TikTok. It's not just TikTok, but it also helped it was a catalyst actually to my music. So it's the TikToker who is now on TV.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And Abidoza.
Good day, everyone. I go by the name of Chabangu, well known as Abidoza. I'm a producer, I'm a DJ, I'm an entrepreneur. So yeah, that's basically it in a nutshell.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us today, you guys. So, as we've just learned, the both of you obviously have a lot more going on than just making Amapiano songs. So why don't we start with the history of the sound itself? We know that kwaito, bakadi, nkwari, if I'm pronouncing these incorrectly, please stop me, I'm going to butcher things. But we know that these are elements in the Amapiano sound along with jazz and other forms of house. So, if you guys are starting off as Amapiano artists, this is the sentiment that we have right now, is that Amapiano is a new thing and that this is something that people are gaining interest in across the world. When we talk about the sound of Amapiano, if we had to create a recipe, let's start with you, Abidoza. What are the basic ingredients that you would put into making an Amapiano song?
The basic ingredients is obviously piano and having a lock drum as a signature, you know. But with the way it's evolving, now you don't even have to use a lock drum anymore. But some people even think it is a lock drum, you know. Because Amapiano, the reason it's called Amapiano is because it would just consist of piano. Just chords, solos, melodies of piano, no vocals. The vocal thing is a new thing. Something that started out when Something Soweto started jumping on Amapiano. Yeah.
Okay, so around the time that Something Soweto jumped on, this was with the Scorpion Kings, correct? So when this was obviously a moment for Amapiano and its evolution, but at that time, this was around 2018, 2019. Before that, what would you say an Amapiano song sounded like? If you could describe it without the lyrics, what was the most sort of important element that people would hear?
The most important element was the lock drum. It was the lock drum. Without the lock drum, it didn't have a signature of it being a piano. Okay. So if you can hear the lock drum, it's not a piano.
Wow, okay. So it's just sparkling deep house.
Yeah, it's sparkling deep house.
Okay, got you. So with the introduction of lyrics, we often hear Spitori, yes? So can you tell us a little bit about Spitori and how those lyrics made it into Amapiano, if you can?
I mean, most of these songs, they blow up in the streets before they go mainstream. So Spitori is a slang for Pretorians, you know. It's the language we use. So it means a lot to us to see someone who's in the mainstream relating to people in the hood. You know, you're in the streets and then you hear this person saying, "Kesta," you know what I mean? So it means a lot, you know, especially for people who make features right now who are doing international features, for them to say something in Pretorian. So we relate so much. That's why you find out we love the song so much. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, and so there's a bit of a debate on where Amapiano sort of emerged, right? The East Rand, there are a lot of artists who are coming from there, but also from Central Pretoria. We've got MFR Souls who apparently coined the term Amapiano. So before that it was called In Number, I'm told. So back in the day, when kwaito was being created and there was an emergence of different types of house through the 90s and early 2000s, there was a feeling of freedom. Kwaito came around the time when we had our first sort of democratic elections, right? Do you feel the same energy in Amapiano that you felt in kwaito, with the freedom and the expression and the blackness and the Africanness coming through in its sort of rawest form? Khanyisa, I'm going to take that to you.
I feel that it's very South African. I feel like Amapiano is a really wholesome and South African sound. You just put a lock drum, have your pianos, have your vocals there, and it's solid. It's ours. And I feel like there's so many ways to diversify piano, but at the end of the day, it's still ours.
Right. which is fantastic to hear because the conversation that was just had with Busiswa was a very, very heated one. There's a lot of talk about the emergence of Amapiano in the rest of the world and how people are jumping on and trying to sort of own it for themselves. So I think, let me just quickly read the room for a second. How many people in the audience, if you could just quickly raise your hand, have heard the term Amapiano to the world? Okay, so we've all heard it. It's that popular. So how many people in this audience are fans of Amapiano? Great. Okay, so if we could say that it's become so popular that it's become our version of pop music to this day, what does that mean for hip-hop and for R&B? Are there inroads to Amapiano where you feel as if people are trying to sort of create a sound that is going to maintain its energy, its popularity, or is this just a phase?
This is honestly not a phase. I really feel like it's not a phase. As we have an example, Vusi Nova literally changed his entire name. He has an alter ego now. He's called Snova, and he's jumping on. Reason also changed his name, and he's jumping on. So I feel like it's also just so flexible, as I had said. Amapiano is very flexible, and you can put in any element, and it works.
Okay, I agree. I mean, I'm loving it myself. I'm absolutely obsessed. So when we see that people are crossing these boundaries, and before this, before making Amapiano, you were what kind of producer? Which genre were you coming from?
I was an Afro house producer, so I used to make like Afro house, you know.
Right.
Yeah, because I used to look up so much to people like at jazz, you know, Lee Vega and that kind of music. So I used to make the kind of music. Hence you can hear a certain type of deep house in my music.
Mm-hmm. And so is that something that you lean on when you're still creating to this day? I mean, over the last 10 years, you've produced some of the biggest productions in Amapiano, but do you still carry the Afro house energy inside of you when you're in the studio?
Sometimes I do. I mean, the reason sometimes something evolves means that it must become better. So it's like, for instance, when I made a song called Careless Whisper, I was thinking of like the Duke Soul, the late Duke Soul. So that's why there's Careless Whisper. So a lot of people can relate because it's an Amapiano, but it's an element of deep house. So you fuse elements in there that are still going to make it relevant, but still sound whole. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. So when we talk about relevance and we see some of the things that are happening online, say, for example, with TikTok and the memification of these dances that are happening, you have 15 seconds to 30 seconds or maybe 3 minutes on TikTok of people doing different movements. Is that exactly what Amapiano looks like when you're in a club? For people who have never really sort of experienced Amapiano in a club at this particular climate, it's quite difficult to do. But would you say that the things that we're seeing online on spaces like TikTok, YouTube, are synonymous with what's actually happening on the ground?
I believe it is, actually, because there are certain dance moves that we do to certain songs. So in a club space, it would actually be so much entertaining for whoever's on stage. If, like, for example, in Gauteng, if I just rock up and just start tempeling, they will know what's going on. They will tempela too. I'm tempeling. Everyone's tempeling, you know. So it's a thing of relevance. And the back to what Abidoza said about when someone feels welcome, feels like, hey, man, I'm also on TikTok. Hey, I saw this on TikTok. And you feel part of the person on stage, and you just relate. It's all about relating at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. And on the subject of relating then, when it comes down to this South African sound that you say is ours, it belongs to all of us, I think that maybe this is a bit of a sensitive topic, but there seems to be a little bit of friction between the scenes and between sort of tribes when it comes to language, things like Xhosa lyrics or Spitori, like we talked about just a minute ago, house heads and hip-hop heads. How do you see Amapiano as a platform where all of these different people can come together and sort of build something for our industry? Because right now, you know, the entire world is waiting to see what we're going to do next. But do you think that we need to communicate together with the same kind of voice to be able to reach that next step in Amapiano or in our dance music's evolution?
Oh, that's for me. Oh, sorry. Like I always say, no one is bigger than anyone in Amapiano. There's no gatekeepers, you know. We can all be stars, you know. And this is the thing. The problem is people trying to own the sound. You must let the sound, you know, do what it has to do. No one has to say, I came up with Amapiano. No one has to say, Amapiano to the world. You have to put a post like that for you to prove that, you know, people are making EPs saying, deep BEP piano. You know, you don't have to do that. It's in the sound. You know, so we have to come together. You have to have someone like Ifani on a song. You have to have someone like Msaki without them making you feel like they're doing you a favor. You know, so it's supposed to be complex. No one's supposed to come with an energy of that they're a star. You know, you must just look at Casper Nyovest. He has one of the biggest songs because of, you know, he's down to earth. He knows that this is music. No one is bigger than anyone. The music is bigger than all of us.
Right.
So that's just what has to happen.
Great. And when it comes to the idea of relevance, so now we're in a moment where anybody can take part if they are keen to take on the sound, to be able to hone their ear and sort of tap into what the right sort of tuning of a log drum is, for example, or putting some words together or being part of this movement. What happens, say, for example, if we're talking about relevance, right? We're talking about how the languages we speak at home are the ones that make it into songs and the ones that make it onto international stages. What happens when we change as people and the Amapiano scene is burgeoning with all of these people, different people, who are wanting to add their 2 cents? How do you see us sort of carrying this as a unit, as a country, if there's so many different people adding their own elements to it? Does that make for a better sound, or does it start to feel a little bit scattered when it comes to trying to put this up in our own way, maybe apart from where some of the major labels have come in and tried to sort of own their own sort of artists, movements, campaigns, and things like that? How do we streamline so that we have a proper sort of inroad into understanding Amapiano, creating Amapiano, and then sharing Amapiano?
I personally feel like piano is for everyone. As Abidoza had said, it is a sound that comes from the streets. It's no one's sound. Like, you can put your own flavor to it, and then we listen to it. If we vibe with it, we vibe with it, you know? It's not even, it's very free. I think another thing is that's very free, just like kwaito, I believe is very free. You can slap some English in there, slap any language, actually. So I think if we honestly stick to what Mr. Abidoza said, that it's no one's sound, that will just make us make the sound even better, because there's just always room for improvement. There's always room for people to make it better.
Right. So before I come back to you with this, when is it not okay for someone to try something with Amapiano? As we just heard before, we have a lot of international artists who are now trying to jump on the sound, and we had a lot of backlash on things like Twitter where they're saying, not without us. So how do we be able to sort of temper what is happening with the development of the sound, and how do you think that in your own communities we need to sort of rally people around making sure that we have a sense of ownership around what's happening here?
I don't know. Okay. Like, we must not bag features. So a lot of people are trying to jump on Amapiano with the way they think it's best for them because of who they are. You know, you'd have someone on a song and then they tell you they want the song to sound like this, but you as a creative, you hear because they need you to make it sound a type of way. So I feel like we must not compromise ourselves. The same way when you want Afro beats, you go to Nigeria. The same way where you want classics of hip-hops, you go to America. They must come here for the sound, because we're chasing them around and it's not necessary. You know, it must be something very genuine and unique. If the young kid is in studio with someone like Wizkid, they must do what they want to do. He must not be controlled or, you know, being told what to do in studio, whereas he's the creative of the sound. Right. You know, so they must just let us be. If they want it, they must come to the ground, to the soil of Africa. We must do it the way we know best. Yeah. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. So now that we've gone through a little bit of the debate around the actual sound and the growth of it, let's talk a little bit about your releases and some of the projects that you worked on over the last couple of years. I mean, Piano Cella also, just huge, really groundbreaking. What was the process behind that, and how did you want the world to receive that project?
I mean, that project is very special to me, you know, especially because it was also made during the pandemic, you know, so we made it with very, very little energy in us, you know, but we had to keep on going. So I want people to relate to it in a type of way that they must understand it. They must not just listen, they must listen to understand it. Because if you go back, we released a lot of songs. We released like 31 songs, you know, and the last song we had an outro of like Huma Sekela, the song Stimela, you know what I mean? We had Dinaledi, we had Leplenile Ndile. It was just a mix of of great genre of great artists, and putting some nice crap there. Yeah.
And so going forward, who are some of the artists that you would want to work with to be able to say, okay, we've reached the next level of what we're capable of doing?
Alicia Keys. I think the next level should be the real next level, because right now I recently did a song with CK from Nigeria. I did a remix for Davido, So I feel like we must take it to the top, and we must not be afraid to dream it, because it can happen, Yes. So we must think that, we need Maxwell on the piano. We need Alicia Keys. We must just think that way, so we can take it to the top.
Mm-hmm. So when people say Amapiano to the world, what you're saying is that any artist who finds sort of a resonance in the sound and is capable of doing it must really sort of engage you, but it should be coming from inside.
All I'm saying is that people must not say Amapiano to the world for them to own it for themselves and act like gatekeepers, They must say it genuinely so, because it must be going to the world, and you must be coming back to share the little you have. Because some creatives were not there when Amapiano started, but they're shining as if they were there, and they're not giving credit to the young ones, And then the young ones must send beats wherever they are, so that they can keep their shine wherever they are. But you see, you're killing like the young ones,
So let's take a moment to shout out some of those people that you feel should be mentioned every time someone is talking about Amapiano and its rise.
There's a lot of producers. To mention a few, there's Tumzari Kota. He once created a song in 2016 called Jaceni. There's Melo and Sleazy. There's people like Zoe. He recently created a song, Kolela, with Young Stana. It was huge. There's people like Quish. There's people like Semiti. There's a lot of people who are doing really good, but they're not getting enough credit, because the real people who are supposed to giving them credit is them saying Amapiano to the world, doing it without them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, write those names down, guys. Don't forget. So let's continue talking about these releases. Today, Soft. Tell us a little bit about your experience of making your first album, how you segued from TikTok to making music, all of that. What can you tell us about your process?
Well, it all began. I was part of Scorpion Kings. I think it was a bonus track, Jigeleza, and I didn't blow up as much as I thought I would, because literally the genre was starting to gain traction in the industry and all of that. I was like, hey, I saw, and then me, I'm DMing the guys. I'm like, how about it? What about me? But then after realizing that, I'm like, okay, just because you're featured doesn't mean you're going to the top, the 12th floor, And then
is that what people expect?
Sorry?
Is that what people expect?
When you've got a big feature, when you're featured with big people, that you are there. But I was like, okay, I get clearly Kanye, I was Ziwa. I started introducing myself on Twitter and be like, hey guys, that's me on that song. Did you guys know? I didn't want to aggravate anyone as well. I just went on peacefully about it. And then it got to a point where I was like, okay, I want people to know me and fall in love with me. Then I started making skits. I started being a funny girl on the socials, and TikTok was the last app I actually downloaded. I went on every app. Then I downloaded TikTok. I started putting myself out there, being a funny girl. After that, I was like, now I've got followers, Nyana. I think I had 200,000 followers at that point. I was like, did you guys know that it's me over there? And they were like, is it you, girl? We didn't know. And then I was like, okay, I think it's time for me to now work on something and actually do something. Then I got approached by Mr. Jazik. Boom, Ungan Bambi happened. And then that's when I was like, okay, now we are going somewhere. With the little traction and the step-by-step of making people know who I am, still being the funny girls, like funny, music. Funny, music. Funny, Yeah. So just getting people to be comfortable with who I am. And then came my project Ibheka Mina Ngedwa, where we actually sampled. We took the melody from UPZ.
Yes, Pure Surprise.
Yes, Pure Surprise. We took that melody, like, let's do a little something. And it got a lot of traction. Even from UPZ as well. And then after that, I was like, okay, I think it's time for me to make a young EP for feelers, see if this is something I can do for the longest time. Because Ipiano liyahamba, like it's happening, it's moving. And let me just, please find attached to piano as well. And that's why I've released Soft today. It's a 5-track EP. Well, I really hope you guys enjoy. Please stream it. Thanks.
Oh, Shiba.
Yes. Oh, guys, come on now. Put those hands together.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Let me just see how much time we have left. Unfortunately, Sutril couldn't make it because we're running a little bit late today. There's been a lot of chaos, but if there are any questions from the floor, shall we go here? I see someone pointing.
We've got the music for you.
Oh, great. Okay, so have we got something that we can play for the peeps?
What do you know?
These intros, hey? What's up with that? These intros are very long, very long.
Yeah, no, you must warm up. It's a warm up. injabulo yenhliziyo yami wena ususeduze kwayo inhliziyo yami kuwe undenza ngicinge igagade lami lide ngicinge lide ngikule ngome ndithandayo.
Thank you very much, guys. Yo, we'll be here for several minutes. Right, so yes, that was Khanyisa's track, Beka Mina Ngedwa.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I'm sweating a little bit right now. I mean, right? Okay, so that was the UPZ track. Pure Surprise, that was a remake. Can you take us through the rewriting of those lyrics and why you decided to flip it in that direction?
Honestly, we literally just took that part of the melody because it was very, one thing I've realized that we need to introduce the hit songs from, back in our times to Gen Z. And they need to know what we used to like. And you might find that they actually like what we like. So that was the idea behind it, is that let's introduce something from back then to Gen Z. And we just took the melody of the oh and the I. I didn't translate the lyrics. I didn't do it. I was like, these were my lyrics that I wrote at that point. I just took the melody. And the basic concept was to just let Gen Z know what we used to like back then, and they loved it.
Absolutely. I mean, I get goosebumps every time I hear it. And every time I'm out in the streets, that is probably one of the only tracks that I'll hear everywhere I go. So I think that there's a really, really deep sense of nostalgia when it comes to Amapiano. Am I correct? Where there's a hearkening back to when things were, I don't know, simpler? What kind of words can we use to describe what that feeling of going back and taking those old sounds, putting them into productions, teaching people about what used to happen when we were growing up and listening to the music that we love, and then sort of packaging it and throwing it into the future? What would you like to have people 10 years' time understanding about South African music in the way that you guys have made it, listening to the sounds that you are sort of harvesting and harnessing? What do we need to take into the future from this moment, the way that we take in house, kwaito, nkwari, bakadi, all of those things from the past? What is the idea, the general idea that you're trying to bring for the future generations? That's right.
We trying to like teach that 10 years from now we created a certain sound, 10 years from now we did certain things, we worked with certain artists, and we were so innovative that even when mainstream couldn't hear us, we were heard in the streets. We overpowered radio, we overpowered people who thought they will never see us be where we are right now. We created a food chain, that some people that are coming behind us are still going to eat. Even now, going forward, 10 years from now, a lot of people, it has changed a lot of people's lives, and it has taken people to the world. A lot of people never even made it to the world with hip-hop, but this is supposing it just needs to get the credit that it deserves. Right. It's just someone needs to say that, yeah.
And so how do we get that credit? What do we need to do as music industry professionals, even if there are some in the audience right now who are interested in tapping into that sound and doing something to push it forward? What do you need as Amapiano artists to be able to make sure that that legacy continues?
We need mentorship, It's something that a lot of artists in Amapiano have big songs, but they're not big as artists because they don't know how to manage themselves. They don't know how to treat themselves. They don't know how to speak to people because they don't have that. There's no big labels that, because big labels sometimes they take away from us. So we are afraid to sign, but at the same time, we don't sign, but we don't have the knowledge. So I think there should be like a program or something to help enhance the current big artists, big songs, and big artists that we have right now, so that we can teach them that, yes, you got here, but from here, this is where you go in terms of brand management, because that's something they're lacking. And I feel like that's why maybe like brands are not approaching them, because people like Kanye, they know how to brand manage themselves, the way they dress. You have a look, that when you see her, oh, it's Kanye, oh, so shega. You know what I mean? She has that thing, So people need to find themselves so that they must not try to fit in, so we can love them for who they are. Because I'm sure you know a lot of big songs, but you don't understand the artists, So we need something to teach artists how to manage the brand, to take it to the world. You know what I mean?
Right.
I also think, in fact, I'm taking this from Lady Smith Black Mambazo. One thing about the rest of the world, they want to know what we have. The reason why Shoma Josie just flew is because she took her home and took it to the world, Shbelane vibes, So I feel like the world is just so curious, because there are just these conspiracy theories that we walk around with lions and all of that. So they do want to know how deep it goes and how we work with our tribes and so on and so forth. So one thing, just like Lady Smith Black Mambas, they stuck to who they were. They never flipped over. They just stuck to who they were, and they took over the world.
Remember I can't remember his name. There was a white guy who was playing guitar and was singing in Africa. John Clegg.
Right.
He did that and he was white. Exactly. But he did it for us blacks and the world understood. So it's time for us to do it ourselves so that the world can understand what Amapiano really is.
Okay.
Because now we're going to wait for people to come and take it away from us because it's going there. People are going to go to rooms and they're not going to mention our names because they want to take ownership of this. Yeah. Next thing, a Grammy Award is coming from Ghana.
Right.
You know what I mean? We're supposed to come in from South Africa specifically.
Okay.
So we need to take ownership because otherwise the chain is going to leave us.
Wow. Okay. So what you're saying then is that a situation like the Johnny Clegg one, do you imagine that there would be somebody who would make an Amapiano track and then just sort of run off with it? And is the sort of interracial play in this
we might
country...
not mention names, but we see Amapiano tracks and we don't see any credit there. It happens, it's happening. Like I'm saying, it goes back to brand management. We think lawyers are here to rip us off. We think record labels sometimes are here to rip us off, but we need to structure ourselves in a way that we know that we can't sign anything without a lawyer. And we must know that how are we going to... Because right now, if you see someone, someone big using your beat, and where are you going to start? You don't know.
Yeah.
Like you have no clue because you don't have that knowledge, that information. You know what I mean?
So how do we build that trust? Especially because if you consider Amapiano is made in townships. It's about township life. And so there's a big gap when it comes to the resources, like you were saying. How do you build that trust so that artists can step forward and say, okay, maybe I don't know everything about this, but this is something that I need to do to be able to continue my legacy on? Who do we see in the music industry that we need to sort of emulate? Are there any sort of companies or people that you know are on the side of Amapiano artists?
Specifically, there's a company called TaylorMade, Homecoming, Katlego Malachi.
Yeah.
He's actually like one of the guys I would recommend, and his company, and they actually helped me a lot. So I would speak about him because I am speaking from experience. So if maybe you know of any artists who feel like they're going through the most, or they're not getting enough credit, or they're not getting what's due to them, they can hit him up. They can go to his offices in Pretoria. He can help you a lot in terms of direction and in terms of paperwork. Because we miss a lot of that. You know what I mean? Because we have big songs, we have this, we have that, but people don't know that sometimes when you have all of that, you have nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just have your name attached, but you're not benefiting from that.
True. All right. Thank you, guys. I think I've spoken enough. Let's hear from the audience for a little while. Does anybody have any questions? Ooh, we've got a whole crop. Okay, let's start in the middle over here. Man in the red. Can we get him a mic? Yes, please. I hope you guys brought umbrellas. It's starting to come down out there.
Hi there. Hi there, me again. By the way, I just want to acknowledge Shiba, because anyone in Europe or anyone in the West, so in the last 12 months, has read or heard about Amapiano, she has written the article. So most of Europe, most of Berlin, most of London, without her, nobody would know about it. And just like a footnote, I mean, when Amapiano came up, and came into the clubs also in Europe, the fact that it's, really truly underground dance music, that it's DJ music, that the bass is so at the center. I don't think club culture has experienced that since the advent of dubstep in 2005. That is like literally how tectonic the shift in sound is through Amapiano. But one of the things, that I've been talking to a lot of young producers is that so many young people try to adapt, strategies that they think they see from mainstream music culture, from major labels. They aim at like going into this top tier. They look at what do the stars do and think this is what they have to reproduce. But what they discount is this: all of this comes from the underground, and there's huge infrastructure of the underground globally, where I think a lot of the young artists will advance if they take this fact that it's DJ culture, and they reach out to DJs globally, to get their music heard, because there's so much more infrastructure that's driven by culture versus by money, which means there are people who will get you, somewhere to play, not because they can profit of it, but because they want to build a stage for you. So my question would be, do you think, you've been active in the house music scene for so long, so you know how the underground, interacts, do you think this is a blind spot that a lot of young musicians have, that they aim, for the superstar, pop star infrastructure versus, maybe playing a long game to come up through the underground, through DIY structures. DJ Lag, for example, that's how he, built himself such a big career in Europe, because he was grinding. Or Shoma Josie, she was playing small clubs in Europe. We've had her in Berlin in 2016, and she would come back, and now she's a star because she established herself also. Do you think that there's a blind spot, or do you think that this has a momentum that big, that if the kids approach these strategies, they will become stars automatically? Or do you think more underground is needed, locally and internationally?
I feel like a lot of them are very vulnerable, because of everything that's happening. So, and some are very arrogant, because they have a song with a certain type of person. Now they feel that they can't talk to certain people anymore, And also, they're also afraid to be alone, So they feel that they need to be with someone for them to feel whole. And whilst those people sometimes are taking from them their energy and everything for them to say it's Amapiano to the world, but they don't realize that. And actually, you're very right, because you'd find that Vega would be in South Africa and ST9 would be in UK and Chamba Music and them, because of the bond they have and them sending each other music and them communicating like that. But it doesn't happen like that. So right now, you're going to hit up someone in South Africa and then they're going to act big on you. and you find that you're the biggest club DJ in in UK, but they don't know that. You find that you ask telling them about Avicii, or you tell them, they don't know all of those people because they just don't want to learn, you know? Yeah.
Thank you very much for that question. I think, okay, let's take a couple more before I go into that. Shall we next? I see somebody with a red scarf over there. Ooh, hello. And then you next, yes?
Hey guys,
Hi.
hey, thank you for being here. And yeah, like Mans of the Cap said, massive shout out to you, Shiba. Been such a pleasure watching you put out some amazing content with such insightful views. And for you guys as well, you guys have been like bringing up very important points in this discourse. I just have two quick questions. The conversation of ownership has been coming up quite a lot, right? And now my thinking towards it is how come it's coming up so much? Because I feel as if to some extent it could stunt the other side of the coin where you guys are talking about spreading Amapiano. If we look at other genres such as reggaeton, if we look at other genres, I guess such as garage in the UK, it seems as if ownership isn't a massive thing there. But it seems as if those two genres particularly that I'm mentioning have spread across the world, and you have other places such as like Japan trying to jump into their sound, and you have places like such as South America jump into various sorts of sound from there. So how come ownership is like so important? And the other one is, if you look at a lot of genres that have come before in South Africa's past, such as kwaito, such as gqom as well, there seems to be a massive part where it goes up, and then for some reason it dies out. Gqom is slowly dying out as well. So how do we know that this bubble is not going to burst up Amapiano very soon? Because it seems as if almost any genre that really blows up in South Africa, it fades away somehow, some way. Yeah, those are my two questions.
I think I'll go for ownership. The reason why, for example, take reggae. I can do reggae today, but it's known where it's from, right? Rihanna can do reggae. Okay, well, she's from there, but we just want, it's a thing of people need to know where it's from. That's just it. It's not we're not saying no one must create or whatever, but we're just saying they must know about, hey man, it's that South African sound, you know, just like reggae. Literally, even in China, they can jump onto reggae, but it'll be known. Bob Marley, it comes from Jamaica, you know. I think it's just that.
And what you said about the bubble, this bubble is not going to burst, trust me. You know why? Because it's evolving. It's not staying in one place. The piano you heard in 2016 is not the one you're hearing now. The one you heard last year is not the one you're listening to currently. So it's definitely not going to die out, especially because right now it's only the beginning of it going to the world. So trust me, it's not, you're going to remember this conversation. It's not going to die out. It's here to stay.
Very, very interesting sentiments there. And I think that it's important to also say, when we're making sounds in South Africa, gqom, Amapiano, whatever it happens to be, is it safe to say that maybe sometimes when we're doing that, we don't know what we have until the rest of the world says yes? And is that why sometimes things tend to sort of die down? Because people get bored or they don't see the sort of lucrativeness in it? I mean, what do you guys think about this? We just spoke about Kautempela. We talked about a little bit of Bacardi making its way through as well. If we now understand what we have, isn't that the reason for wanting to own it and to say, okay, maybe this time we can do something differently? Is that the sentiment, or is it just about making fun music for the time being?
It's definitely not for the time being. I mean, careers are being built from Amapiano, and so many things are happening in the world. We just don't want, as you had said, I think previously, for Beyonce to show up one day and be like, you know what, I'm doing a tour or something like that. We just really would love the credits. I mean, with Busiswa Moonchild got recognized by Beyonce because of gqom, you know, so I wouldn't say it's done its time. Maybe it will come back. I mean, it did with, there's a song, Dlala Tukzin. Was that piano, was that gqom? It's actually gqom. That gong, 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 gong. It was gqom, you know, so we don't know how it will be fused again, and maybe it will come back, or it will come back as a part of Amapiano, because that's how inclusive Amapiano is, you know. So I really think it's not just for the time being, definitely not.
But we do have to find that balance between taking it to the world and making sure that when it is there, we're standing.
We're standing in the forefront, yes.
And also, it's very, very important to understand that there is hype and there's music. And there's celebrities and there's musicians. I feel it's very important to know the difference.
Yeah.
How do you tell the difference between, if we're making hits and there are lots of things happening on TikTok and topping charts and things like that, how can you tell the difference between a musician in Amapiano right now and someone who's just riding the wave?
So, hype, you know, and music. So a musician would post about his music. He would get maybe like, this may just say for maybe like 1,000 comments, and then he would post about other stuff and get maybe hardly comments because he's a musician. He's what the people know him for that. And then celebrities, they just post, you know, whatever, you know what I mean? And then they get more traction, but when they speak about the music, no one is speaking about it.
Oh, I see.
You know, so there's a very huge difference. You must be careful of that, because the people are musicians, the people are celebrities.
Right. So it depends on the conversation being had around the music that's being released, right? Great. Okay, I think we had another question over here. Yes?
Hello, everybody. My name is Prince Shihwana. I'm from Winterfeld, the township outside Pretoria, 50 km outside Pretoria. I live there full time, and you probably know it. It's a house. We love house music there. Whether it's Bacardi is the most popular genre right now, which, in my opinion, as a street historian of music, for me, that's where Amapiano directly comes from those Mamelodi and social cats who were busy with Bacardi all those years ago in the 90s, right? But the point that I'm getting to is the education part of music. We get that Amapiano is a dance genre and it's a club genre, right? And it's chilled. However, because I wanted to say thrilled to be here, because I don't watch videos much, I only hear songs. I didn't know I didn't know all of these guys, Youngstana, they all sound similar. The lyrics are the same, the sound, the voices are similar, right? If they're rapping in Spitori, they sound the same, even like the texture of it, even the words, right? So how do we, because in the past 40 years in this country, we had 4 major genres that were supposedly South African and they were going to take over. Bubblegum was the first, and we even had articles in the US. They were calling Brenda Fassie the street Madonna, right? And this bubblegum thing is going to take over the world. And then it died down. Kwaito, they did the same thing. Articles around the world. It's not what's happening with Amapiano as far as the hype of it is concerned. It's not new to South African genres. It's very important to note. And the reason the other 3 genres are not here today, including Dome, which we spent millions on, 2017, one of the highest grossing movies of all time. It had more than 3 Dome songs, and then the next year, everybody's like, no Dome, boom. It brings the point of PR. Nobody talks about PR. Amapiano is mainly, outside the beats, it's mainly a PR genre. Because in Winterfeld, the same Winterfeld I'm talking about, I go to clubs to check out and play. They don't like Amapiano very much. We can play Amapiano for an hour. This is 2021, a township in South Africa right now. We can play Amapiano for an hour, and it's like, yeah, friends are mixing a DJ Moodzy. DJ Moodzy is a popular Bacardi DJ, producer. So how are we educating the kids to be better songwriters within the genre, not necessarily doing other things, be better songwriters and tell better stories, whether it's a story about, because at the end of the day, when you're a vocalist, you're a storyteller, right? Regardless of whatever genre you are in. Because if we don't bring in the stories, that's exactly why Ghana is going to beat us. That's exactly why Nigeria is going to beat us. That's exactly why all of these other nations can take whatever we do and then take it further. Because of music education, it's central to a lot of these other countries. We don't care about the education. It's about, do I own the song, this, that. So that's my comment on the entire thing. And I just have to say I'm very impressed by you, Brother Abidoza. I've never heard you speak before. And I enjoy that there's brains like yours in the Amapiano genre. And I hope the genre grows and it goes forward. Yeah, that's me.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else? I think we only have a couple of minutes left, so let's just do one more. Ooh, I'm not wearing my glasses today. Okay, I think that's about it. Shall we close with an Abidoza track, please? Oh, at the back. Do we have time for this? Let's take a vote. No. Sorry, guys. We don't have any time left, but I think let's just get the final comments from you guys, and then we'll wrap it up. Sorry. Anything else you'd like to share with the audience before we go?
There was something Ricky Rick once said, and he said, listen to the kids. And I believe that's what's happening now. We, the kids, are coming through, and sometimes we can't go to how Brenda Fassie tells stories or whoever so told stories. We tell them how we tell them. And if that means we're going to use emojis in the songs, we're going to use emojis for the song, because we are the next generation. You can't be wanting us to now always go back to say, oh, yes, there was. And, so we're just doing what we can. And we're sorry if we're stepping on boundaries, but sorry, not sorry.
Prince, ne? Yeah, bro, artists are artists. Some people gotta paint what they have to paint, We can't really tell them what to paint and in which way, but also we must not be hard on them, Like, it's very easy to implement stuff like songwriters sometimes, to nurture, because remember, these people are artists. It's not like you're taking someone from nothing. Already they are what they are. So for you to try to change them, it's something else. So it's either they're heard or they're not heard, but you can't force someone to be understood. It's like some people want to, in America, some people rap about criminals. They show my mom and then, you can relate with, hey, they showed his mommy going and hustling about a house. Sometimes we want to hear those organic stories, not something that's like, you know what I mean? So it's very important to let people be who they are, because sometimes that's where the biggest songs come from people just telling the stories in a shack, writing about how bad it was and how good it is now, Some people see it as a flex, but it's not, So, yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, you guys. It's been wonderful chatting to you. Guys, Stream Soft, it's a beautiful EP, a wonderful first tap into the industry, and please keep supporting. Artists, we got to do what we got to do, and especially in this country, we don't always have the infrastructure to be able to reach our stars, but we have to keep telling our stories like Busiswa was saying. So, with that, Amapiano to the world. Thank you very much.
Make some noise for Shiba. And I think we can wrap up with the song from Abidoza. If we can have that in the background, yes. And thank you so much, Abidoza. Make some noise for him. Make some noise for Khanyisa as well. We appreciate you guys so much.